welcome to Matburn. We've got an all-star cast. We've got the two chairmen of USAW and AYWO, Norm Latona and Ken Clark. We've got one of the best coaches in the state, Shad Rizzler. And I don't know, it's hard for me to decide between him and Sean Wilson because I say one, the other one will get upset. And we're going to make an introduction of Matt Moley. That's how you say your name?
That's right. Yep.
All right.
Like holy moly.
And one of the Bald brothers, Shane Dempsey, has joined us. So we got a lot to cover tonight. Hopefully we can get through it all. So I think what we'd like to do first is have Shad introduce his new wrestling coach at the Warrior Wrestling Club, Matt Moley.
Ooh, that's not good. All right, so this is Matt Moley. He came originally down from PA to New Jersey to Georgia to here, and there's a couple stops in between it all. He was a two-time Division I All-American for Bloomsburg. Also placed at the U.S. Nationals, multiple-time PA placer. And now he's helping out with good old Warrior Wrestling Club.
Well, welcome to the state, Matt.
Thank you.
To have you here. Hopefully you'll be a regular on Matburn going forward. Shad did volunteer you to do the technique of the week. I don't know if you do that. So
good deal.
Every week you film one of your techniques that you're showing at the club and send it to us, and we'll put it out for you.
Cool.
All right, so we got a lot to cover. We've had some big going-ons this recently. We've had the youth state championship, which is AYWO. So we'll have Ken do those. We had the high school state, which is right in Shane's wheelhouse. So we'll do that. Then we're going to cover our college kids, and we're going to have Norm jump in on that, and then segue into the freestyle and Greco season, which is just starting. So, Ken, why don't you give us like state of the AYWO Alabama wrestling? How did we get through this season? Oh, your audio's off. You're muted.
How about there? Miraculously, really, I mean, we had, if you'd have asked me back in July, August, if we'd have been able to have 13 weekends consecutively in 21 tournaments this season. I mean, Norm will tell you, man, it just looked like in May and June at the bottom was dropping out and there was no chance to do anything. But we had a couple states outside of us kind of maybe tread the water first. And Tennessee did some stuff. We had a little bit of stuff in Georgia. Georgia kind of fell off a little bit there, but we just followed in the chute behind them. Really had one of our best seasons ever as far as, I wonder what it would have been like had we not had the whole COVID thing, but because it had a lot of challenges for our tournament hosts this year.
Well, I have to say that you steered the ship very well this year. I would give a lot of credit to you, Ken, for getting us there. But I know you prefer to share the credit with your troops. So why don't you go ahead and give a shout out to all those guys who helped you get to where we were.
Yeah, man. I just do a little computer work and answer some phone calls. The people that are there, from, if you take it from the bottom up, are just our coaches this year, especially in the South. We opened up AYWO, expanded a little bit to Florida geographics west of the Chattahoochee River. And they just they came on like gangbusters. People like Panhandle, Wrestling Club Pace, well-trained. I'm trying to think of something, Spanish Fort, of course, is now starting to become a perennial powerhouse down there. Enterprise with Kyle Stifler came on. And it was incredible, the strength that they brought to our Duels championship. Shad can speak a little bit to that. I mean, they were right in there for only being in this 4 or 5 years. It's just, I guess they were the high spot, the great delight of this whole thing coming through. Just some tremendous strength down there. So much so that our focus probably next year needs to go to Region 3 and help some of the teams over near Auburn and Opelika and stuff along that line. Although Pete Van stepped up as a region director over there and did a fantastic job this year getting venues. So that was the problem. We'd get a venue, shut down. We get another venue. Norm knows what that's all about right now, trying to do the same thing for USA. It's like whack-a-mole. Every time you want to, you think you got a venue, it shuts down and you got to look for some other place to go. So the board was fantastic in just fielding all that stuff. And getting insurance certificates and all the stuff you don't want to hear about. And the wrestling was, I think, probably the most competitive that I've seen in a long, long time. We grew from about 35 clubs to about 50 clubs just this season alone. So it speaks a lot to the competition and the stuff that's there.
And how about that girls tournament? I know you didn't get to go there, but Shane and I were there, and Shad was there coaching, and
yeah.
It was really exciting. And Daphne took the title.
And can you believe the strength that just making a decision? I got my own, maybe this is the place to drop my own frustration with the girls thing, is I just wish it was all freestyle. I wish they were, I don't know why we're doing folk style when they'll never wrestle it. Again, that's just my pet peeve for the moment. But to see some of the competition, see some of the girls and their ability is just, it was just, they're just out of the box.
Yeah. You watch girls like Lena Johansson and Evelyn Holmes. It's hard not to get excited about how talented those girls are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the season, the folk style season isn't quite over yet. We've got Battle of Bama coming up. I see we secured a location this week.
Yeah, finally, like Ken said, it is it's a challenge to say the least. Still, it's starting to open up a little bit. We had 2 or 3 different venues that we thought we had lined up. Schools, and just for one reason or another, we couldn't get it signed. So we went ahead and last week and committed to Boutwell Auditorium, which is a very nice facility. Done a bunch of renovations there over the past few years. I was actually impressed. I'd seen it quite a while, and give us a huge space, which will allow us to run 10 mats or more. Even I think 10 is what we're going to go with. And we can segue right into that event if you want to, or we can save that for later, or whatever you want to do, Scott.
Let's do it.
So Battle of Bama is scheduled for the 13th, which is a week from Saturday. It is the registration is open, has been open. It remains open on track. There'll be all age divisions from Todd on up, including 9th and 10th grade and 11th and 12th grade. High school divisions. There will be a girls division, a separate girls division. Neither USA nor AAU cards are required. That'll be a separate independent insurance type event. There'll be placement awards for all age divisions, 1st through 4th. I think the champs are going to get something a little special from Rudis. There'll be OW awards and most pins for every division. And again, those will be some nice awards from Rudis, backpacks and things of the sort. And like I said, the tournament will be held on at least 10 mats. So the hope is, we can get this thing knocked out and stay on schedule, stay on time. So we hope everybody will come on down and participate. I think we're going to get some out-of-state folks, both at the youth level and the high school level. So I think the wrestling will be good. I know we've got a lot of kids at our club or down at Warrior that are training high school, middle school, and high school age, even some of the youth kids still. So I would anticipate it'd be a great event.
And if you need some coverage, I know Matburn is available that day.
Well, good deal. Yeah. And I would encourage everybody, if you have questions, you can reach out to me. Most folks watching this know how to get in touch with me one way or another. Ben Wanagat also can answer any questions. But I know those registration links are open on track and all the flyers with the details and the weights and weigh-in instructions and all that kind of good stuff is up there.
Now, one of the purposes of this tournament is for high school kids to have bragging rights. So 5A.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, they can wrestle each other to determine who is really the best or the state champ in the state. So we're encouraging all the high school kids to turn out and claim that title.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll also have our USA, our Team Alabama group will be there like we did the last time we had it, which I always want to say last year. I guess it was 2 years ago when we had this event. We had to cancel it last year, I guess it was. But I think that's right. At any rate, it was at Hoover, and we had a little membership drive, USA Wrestling membership drive. We'll have the Team Alabama folks there kind of talking a bit about freestyle and Greco, and we'll have the ability to sign folks up, get their memberships, and good news on that too. I'll wait to get into the Team Alabama stuff you want later, but we can talk a little bit about what's going to be required from a membership standpoint, the costs and things of that nature. So I'll wait on that if you want, Scott.
Well, Shad can vouch for what it takes to be a high school state champ. It's off-season wrestling, right? Shad gets your kids 9 months a year. The high school coach gets them 3. So Shad's going to make your kid into a champion, or any club coach will make your kid into a state champ if he trains year round. And freestyle and Greco, why do you have to do that, Shad?
Especially now, to me, I think it's a really good transition because, especially for us, we preach being really good on our feet, and it teaches, kind of cleans them up, how to finish correctly, especially in freestyle and Greco. It just gives them the positions of upper body. And it gives us more opportunities to compete too at a very high level, leading up to Cadet and Junior Duels and Fargo and so on, which are, Fargo, of course, we all know is the biggest tournament in the world. So it gives us an opportunity to be exposed to some of the best college coaches in the country. So I kind of think that all leads into it. And it's just another kind of training cycle that we put our kids through.
Yeah, the freestyle and Greco will make you a sharper, more perfect wrestler for Folkstyle, for sure. And you're not done with Folkstyle though. You've got a big camp coming up. So I want you to take a moment to plug your camp.
Yeah. So me and Matt are going to be putting a camp on the weekend before Virginia Beach Prep Nationals. So how our schedule works is we're going to go in 3 weeks. We're going to the USA Wrestling Showcase, which is mostly for state champs. But you can go to a qualifier, which we're not going as a club, but there's qualifiers if you want a state champ to go to that tournament. And then the weekend after that is USA's Wrestling Folkstyle Nationals, which is a tournament that's offered for all ages, which we're going to send another 20, 30 kids to that. And then 2 weeks later, we'll have our camp, which is the third weekend of April. And then the weekend after that's Virginia Beach. So we're kind of leading up. And then after Virginia Beach, our goal is to kind of dive into freestyle and Greco season and start, hopefully we'll have a lot of, at that point, Norm will talk about schedule later on, but we'll have USA Wrestling tournaments kicking off and, get ready for freestyle and Greco season.
Yeah, well, let's juggle the topics around and go right into freestyle season since you have the schedule out, Norm.
Yeah, so there's good news and bad news here. USA Wrestling National has done a pretty good job of kicking things back off in terms of putting all these major events that typically occur this time of the year back on the calendar. Not all of them. For example, Southeast Regionals, which is the regional that we traditionally have always attended out of Alabama, is not on the calendar yet. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it resides in North Carolina. North Carolina is a state that is pretty restrictive. So that's still up in the air. And we're not sure at this point whether there'll even be a Southeastern regional event. And frankly, we felt like we've waited long enough. We just got to kind of move on and release our schedule. And if we've scheduled on top of it, we'll either make an adjustment or not. The other main event that has not been put on the USA calendar is Junior Duels, which is something that we've attended occasionally, but we had a goal last year before it all got rained out to put together a junior duels team. We'd like to do that again this year. Those duels, those freestyle and Greco duels, team duels, typically take place in June. So just to jump right into it, we're going to follow right on the heels of Folkstyle Nationals that Shad mentioned, which is the 1st through 3rd of April. Our first freestyle Greco event is going to be the 10th of April. It'll be at Thompson Middle School. We're going to combine, that'll be a Friday evening and Saturday morning. There'll be actually a freestyle Greco referees clinic. And we're going to be inviting a lot of our folk style refs to come and be educated by Mr. Gary Rissler, who's Shad's father, who's going to be coming down. He's also an accomplished freestyle and Greco official. And so he'll be training our kids, our young referees and freestyle and Greco mechanics. And then we'll also have an invitational. So our main events for freestyle and Greco this year, we're going to refer to them as invitationals. We'll actually have 3 of those. They'll be on the 10th of April, the 1st of May, and the 15th of May. And then the season will culminate on the 22nd of May at a freestyle and Greco state tournament. And I should note, all these tournaments will have all age divisions, both, and they'll all be Ironman events. So we're going to have freestyle Greco and folk style at all these events. And we'll also have girls divisions, separate girls divisions for all of these events. Okay. So that schedule will be released. I think, I believe I just saw where JP Print sent it over to you, Ken. I know we're blasting it out on our platforms tomorrow morning. And hopefully Ken and AYWO folks will share that with their membership as well. And in between those invitationals, the larger tournaments, we'll have what we're calling regional developmental events. These will be walk up, $5 to $10 pay at the door events, freestyle and Greco. We'll get as many matches as we can. We'll try to get officials there that are working to train. It'll be pretty laid back. We'll match up kids. It'll be, almost like an open mat format. And we're going to attempt to have those, and we're getting good feedback from the clubs. We're going to attempt to have those, 3 of those as well at 3 different parts of the state. Again, very small events. You might have something down in Spanish Fort. You might have an event in Arab or somewhere up in Huntsville and somewhere in Birmingham. And we're going to roll as many of those out as we can and try to get 1 or 2 of these officials, these referees that we train early in the season to attend these things so that they can further educate kids, parents, other officials on the freestyle Greco stuff. The state tournament this year, which is the 22nd of May, which is at Thompson High School, Thompson Arena. That'll be our qualifier event for our national team. Okay, so it'll be a requisite event to make a national team. And our national teams, we have, and we'll be releasing this soon too, but we have coaches and team leaders presently for Schoolboy and Cadet Duels. Okay, that event will be, those will both take place on June 9th through 13th. Okay, in Indiana. Both of them are in Indiana. One of them's in Franklin and one is in Westfield, Indiana. Okay, so we'll be taking teams to those. And again, junior duels will come out of our state tournament as well. We just don't have a date yet for junior duels. So I know I'm throwing a lot out there. We've got a couple of training camps on the calendar. One of them's going to be at Birmingham Wrestling Complex. We'll have a training camp, hopefully for junior duels once they announce a date, at a date to be at a location to be determined. We've got a Fargo, nationals training camp scheduled for early July, right after the 4th at Warrior Wrestling Complex. The training camps again will be requisite. They're not. They'll be fully funded, no charge. in order to attend them, you'll have to be qualified for a national team, selected as a national team member, which again is coming out of our state tournament. So the goal is to put together schoolboy, cadet, and junior duels teams, and to do that consecutive years, so that we can start building some momentum and get these kids and coaches experience wrestling on a regional or even national stage before they show up out in Fargo, North Dakota, and get the hammer, which is
Great.
what lives.
You know, I've been advocating for these duels for years. Manny
Sure.
got to go with Tennessee one year to
Yep.
the cadet and the junior duels in one year. It was the most fun he ever had.
Yeah.
You know, you get 10 to 12 guaranteed matches against the best guys in the country who are also going to Fargo. So you
Yeah.
get to measure yourself and see if, you know, you want to go to Fargo, and you can't help but get better when you go to these.
Yeah, and the cost of the duels, frankly, is a fraction, you know, maybe as little as half of the cost of Fargo, because it's a lot closer, and it's a lot shorter. You know, Fargo is a big commitment. It's a 10-day to 2-week time commitment. You know, a lot of lodging, a lot of food, a lot of travel. You know, we're working very hard to subsidize those costs. Team Alabama is in, you know, one of the silver linings, I suppose, out of losing most of the year last year for Team Alabama and not having any freestyle Greco season, as much as we all hated it. We didn't spend any money either. So we're in great shape in that respect, better than ever in the history. I've been involved with Team Alabama wrestling off and on for, how long has it been, Ken? You were there back in the day, 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're in good shape. We hope to be able to do some cool things to help keep the costs low. Mike Hatcher, a lot of folks know Mike. He's back in charge of Team Tennessee, USA Wrestling. Mike's a good friend, and I spoke with him recently, and you know, they're excited about doing some stuff together with us, and maybe even combining some travel and things. So we're going to work hard to keep the costs down. But the duels, like you said, Scott, they're a great outlet. That's a great source. They're a great outlet for competition, for you know, a low cost. You get lots of matches crammed into a short period of time, both styles. You know, it's a fantastic event. They're
Mike
great.
was Manny's coach, and
Yeah, okay.
you should probably do some camps with them also.
Yeah, 100%. Mike's really excited. He just moved back to Chattanooga within the last year, and he's just kind of rolling back into taking over that role as state chairman. So he's
And our national team's head coach is Shad Rizzler. So anyone who wants to and more information and be on this team, contact Shad, and you really should go. I remember Jackson Bast, his dad came up to me right before, I think, his junior year and said, "Is it really worth it to go to the Disney duels?" And I said, "You have to go to the Disney duels. You got to get all those matches in." And sure enough, you know, 6 months later, he's a state champ.
Here's the good news too. I'm glad you brought up Disney Duels. I was just putting a star by it on the schedule. So that is in late June, down in Orlando. It's my favorite event as a parent, kid. It's a fantastic event. It's phenomenal competition. Kids have a ball. It's great wrestling. It's a great time. Lots of parents come. Obviously, lots to do in Orlando. But that event is scheduled for the 22nd through the 27th of June. And typically, in the past, junior duels kind of and Disney duels kind of happen on top of each other. So again, silver lining, assuming or you know, in the event that junior duels doesn't happen this summer, and again, it's not on the schedule yet. Even, you know, we certainly have you know, I'm sure we'll put a Disney team together in any event. But we've gone down there and had some great successes. And listen, we've had kids make names for themselves. You know, I could name a dozen of them. I mean, Shad can tell you. You know, you go down there and wrestle ranked kids from all over the country, from Pennsylvania and other parts.
Young guns show up every year.
Absolutely. And so we've had some great times down there and great teams. We actually finished third, a solid third in the All-Star division. You know, the best of the best.
You know, there's a unique bullet that we've never loaded into the chamber for Disney as well, you know, because it's a South, you know, we can create a team from the Southeastern district. In other words, we can create one all-star team from Tennessee kids and Alabama kids. I mean, a couple of years ago, we maybe had, you know, one of our best Alabama teams loaded up that we'd ever had. I can't imagine what we'd look like if we took the best that we had here on that all-star team and mix it with some of the best that Tennessee has.
Yeah.
I think then you go down and you're able to hang with the young guns or the, you know, Ohio Mafia or, you know, those guys that are coming in there.
I know. Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago? We went down there and one of those PA teams, it may have been Young Guns. I think it was it Young Guns, Shad, that had either 6 or 7 Division I signees, not commits. I'm talking about kids
Ohio,
that were already signed.
It was Young Guns and it was Mawa.
Yeah, wow. That's who it was.
Like New
They
York,
had 6 or 7 signees. I mean, already signed. I mean, there's no telling how many others on that team, you know, were eventual Division I level wrestlers. So it's legit for sure.
Yeah, and
And,
college coaches are there too. You know, they're walking
Absolutely.
around recruiting kids through the whole weekend.
That's a great event. And Disney, they built this whole new complex on top in the Disney Wild World of Sports, and they built this, you know, just this additional competition arena, and so it's something else. You know, it's definitely a showcase.
In case we didn't mention it, Disney Duels is Folkstyle.
It is. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is, it's never been a better time to be a wrestler in Alabama.
I agree. Yeah.
Year round, what's available to us at this point.
Yeah. And you know what we hear a lot, and not as much as we used to, but like I get a lot of you know, what do we need to do to get involved in these events? You know, how do we make these teams? And you know, what I would say is we especially through Ken's work and club development, and you know, another point I'd written down here. Look, Team Alabama, we will name our head coaches for the Duels and for Fargo, okay, and our team leaders. So we're going to select those, and they're going to be good folks. But you know, we've talked about the last 2 meetings we've had. You know, we have such a great club network. Again, the AAU stuff, the AYWO stuff, what Ken's done. He mentioned Kyle Stifler, a great example. We want to communicate, and I'm doing it now, but we'll continue to all these clubs that we need coaching help. We want their involvement. You know, that'll all funnel through the head coaches, but the way to get involved, if anybody's wondering, how do I get on one of these teams? Get involved through your club. Have your club coach reach out to myself or to Ken, and we'll plug you into the right place. Now, the national teams that we're creating for Freestyle and Greco, we're going to run those through our state tournament. Okay. And, you know, it's just one of those things. It'll grow over time, but we're going to run that through the state tournament. So you have to participate in that state tournament. And that's how we're going to select those teams. But it's not to say that you can't make a team. It's just those guys are going to get the first invitations. But we want to encourage everyone to be involved in it for sure. Yeah.
Right.
There she is.
And we were talking a lot about the dates and stuff like that. And I know, you know, we have Shad and Matt on from Warrior. Shad, man, you have some opportunities for guys. I know you post on social media quite a bit. What's the best way for folks to find out like what camps you have coming up?
So one big thing that we developed last year, we have a Facebook page that's Warrior Wrestling Camps. And me and Matt are going to be doing some more marketing in the videos and stuff and getting that out this next few weeks. But the biggest thing is that we keep everything updated on our Warrior Wrestling Club camps, and then we usually share it on our Warrior Wrestling Club Facebook page too. So that's
Yeah,
the
good
thing.
deal.
And then on the Warrior Wrestling Club .com, our website, we'll have hopefully all of our updated. It does have all of our updated camps that are coming up too.
Awesome. And hey, Matt, you know, you've made it around a little bit, man. You've gone from wrestling in PA to Jersey down to Georgia. I know we talked, you know, you were helping out with some high school kids there.
He actually coached at Rutgers too. That's something I
Awesome.
forgot to say. He coached at Rutgers University
Cool.
too.
So Matt, how do we stack up here in Alabama? And I mean, are we closing the gap on other states, you know, like that are really more marquee states like PA, Jersey? I mean, even Georgia, you know, is always, they've said it's ahead of Alabama. How do we match up?
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, really in the 7 years that I've been in the South, I feel like I've seen a huge shift in talent and in depth, I think.
Yep.
I feel like when I first moved down, and I mean, I guess I wasn't that involved with wrestling when I first moved down because I moved down for a car sales job. So I kind of left coaching and then got a sales job, and then I was working 7 days a week doing that. So I wasn't really in the wrestling as much. But like I said, just in the 7 years I've been here, you're just, I think, and it has a lot to do with the clubs too. The clubs that are just having quality coaches, and you know, the kids just have opportunities to work with guys who've done things at higher levels. And you know, a lot of the kids are not just getting football coaches that are coaching wrestling. So
For sure.
and then you got kids that went off to college and they did well, and then they're giving back like me and Shad are doing. And I think that's just huge. And I like
talk
where
about some of the college kids.
I'd say Alabama and Georgia are pretty similar as far as, you know, talent wise. And I think it's just going to keep getting better. And then when people realize the weather's nicer down here than up north, it's cheaper to live down here, then it should start to blow up. I mean,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I'm excited to be down here.
All right.
And I don't know if you mentioned, Scott, Elijah Oliver is just taken over or is in the process of taking over Birmingham Wrestling Club in Vestavia Hills. And, you know, Elijah is another example of a kid that was highly successful at the high school level, you know, competed and won national titles, freestyle national titles, you know, wrestled 4 years at Division I at Indiana University, and just a wealth of knowledge and experience, and you know, another great coach that is available, you know, down here. He'll be heavily involved in our freestyle Greco coaching. He'll be primarily focused on the schoolboy, on the schoolboy and cadet teams, and undoubtedly will come to Fargo with us. And so in addition to Shad and Matt and Tanner Moon and you know, there are plenty of others. I don't mean to leave anybody out, but I would echo what Matt said.
JP Prince up north.
Yeah. I mean, we've got lots of coaches that have been in the fire and coached and competed and coached at Fargo. You know, I remember the first time, you know, I learned about as I was learning back 12, 15 years ago. I don't think we had a coach in the state of Alabama that had ever competed at Fargo. You know, JP maybe, you know, but I mean, you know, even some of these coaches that were so-called, you know, our leaders in the state, I mean, they never competed at Fargo. They knew what it was. So, you know, I remember talking to Shad. Shad was a Fargo national champ, and thinking, man, not only did he compete there, he won it. You know, these guys, they can tell kids, not from the standpoint of, you know, I've been there and coached kids there. I kind of know what it takes. You know, no, he knows what it takes. Elijah knows what it takes. Matt knows what it takes. I mean, they've done it. And so there's a credibility associated with that, you know, it can't be replaced. Can't be faked, you know, so.
Well, like Ken said earlier, it's never been a better time to wrestle in Alabama. And that has a lot to do with the cooperation and collaboration of USA and AYWO. And people have been asking for years, why can't we all just get along? Well, we're getting along and things are going great right now. And, I couldn't be happier with the way you both work together and help grow the state. And, you want to see each other succeed. It's really exciting. So I want to jump up to the college wrestlers since Matt brought it up, because, Shane was asking, how do we measure up? Well, if we measure ourselves by our best wrestler, we have to measure ourselves by Sam Latona. So I got Sam back on my my background here.
Don't worry, babe, I'm gonna kick 'em out.
And
I'm
Sam
celebrating.
has qualified for the NCAA Division I championship,
Yeah,
winning
that's awesome.
the ACC championship last weekend. And I know you were there, Norm. 'Cause I
Yeah.
saw that picture.
What's that?
I know you were there because I saw your picture.
Oh yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, is a small crowd again. Boy, North Carolina, they are.
Oh, is that where it was?
They're the California of the East Coast. Apparently, I think each school got 34 tickets.
Wow.
17 were allowed in the travel party. We couldn't even bring any backups. I think we could bring 10 starters, two additional wrestlers, and then 5 coaches and other staff, and then 2 tickets apiece, 34 tickets apiece.
So the kid that Sam wrestled in the finals, Jacob, what's his last name?
Camacho.
Camacho.
Mhm.
Camacho.
Yeah.
Who had an incredible overtime win with, the first time, had another overtime win in the finals, and he was in his home state, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah, it was actually on the NC State campus. The ACC tournament rotates. It was in Blacksburg a couple years ago. It was in Pittsburgh. It was at Pitt last year. It was so it moves around. But yeah, it was at NC State.
I saw Shane posting how terrible the streaming was. He couldn't.
Yeah, I don't know what. I heard a lot of complaints about that, and that surprised me too, because it's ESPN, but they I'm not sure what happened there, but I think hopefully the coverage for the finals, it was live on the ACC network. Hopefully that was better.
It
wasn't
was much
watching.
better.
Yeah.
So why don't you give us a recap of the match for those who couldn't see it?
Well, Sam's match, his finals match, yeah, he wrestled the Camacho kid, and they've gotten to be pretty familiar with one another. They've wrestled 4 times now in the past, 13 months, 14 months, 3 collegiate matches, and then a freestyle match at senior nationals actually last May. So they know each other pretty well. Every match there've been less points scored every single match, which is probably a result of the familiarity with one another. But yeah, it was just a tight match. This match was most of you guys saw it. It was actually a no takedown match. So I was telling Shad, Sam, if Sam can win a match where there are 0 takedowns scored, then that's a good thing, because that's certainly where he makes his living on his feet. But it was some good scrambles and good defense, and ultimately close calls on takedowns, but ended up in the second ride out. Sam escaped fairly easily in the first ride out period, and then he was able to ride out the kid in the second one and secure the 1-0, I guess it was, or
Yep.
2-1 actually.
2-1.
They both got escape points during the regulation as well. So yeah, it was exciting, at least for Dad and the team, but it probably wasn't the most entertaining match to watch, but it's pretty nerve-wracking actually.
So Norm, I could always just say what's next, but let's get down to business. Are we going to see Sam at an RTC at a regional training center in the near future?
Well, you know, Sam's been up at the Southeast Regional Training Center in Blacksburg since he was a senior in high school. So, and those guys they train hard in the off season, and Nashawn Garrett is there now. Ty Walls is there now. Whom I'm missing? Shad.
James Green.
James Green, world medalist, trains out of the Southeast Regional Training Center. So yeah, they're you know, he definitely they focus on freestyle a good bit in the off season. Obviously, during the collegiate season, they're focused on, you know, on college stuff. But yeah, I would imagine they'll go right into training freestyle very soon after the NCAA tournament, getting ready for junior UWW juniors and U23s and all that kind of stuff. And I guess they'll have those this year. You know, this is actually they'll have the Olympic trials. You know, it's the next big thing coming up. So James Green, Nashawn Garrett, and Ty Walls, all three out of the Southeast Regional Training Center, have qualified for the Olympic trials. So they'll be there. Yep.
So I got to assume that he'll stay around 57 kilograms.
Yeah, you know, that seems to be. I mean, there's a lot of interest found in Sam's weight, and I chuckle a little because everybody thinks he's cuts a ton of weight, and you know, I think that's his plan for the foreseeable future. You know, going from 57 to 65 is a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
I would say he's certainly not big enough. You know, I can't imagine him being a 65 kilogram guy anytime soon. Now, whether he stays at 25 for one more year or two more years or whatever, you know, but he's pretty disciplined about his whole diet. I mean, he just doesn't get very big. You know, he's kind of like me. He's pretty shredded, and you know, just
Well, I was going to say
low body fat, and you know, it's just genetic, man.
Well,
So
I don't know if people know this, Norm, but didn't you wrestle at like 120 in high school?
I did 126. Yeah, my senior year. That was half of my present self.
So Norm, we know how proud you are of Sam, but you know, Shad, dude, you were there with him in Fargo, man, when he won a national championship. How did this hit you?
I was actually while Norm was at the tournament, I was at Norm's house, with the family there, and we were Shannon was out in the front porch, not because she can't watch the match as it goes on, and I was kind of interpreting what was going on, and I'm wrestling, and then my daughter screaming at the same time. So it definitely hits home hard. I think I don't usually make posts about individuals and stuff, and I made a post the other day about him just because I feel like he's put in a lot of work that no one saw, and no one sometimes at one point in his career, he had his ups and downs. It's funny how Norm's talking about size. I mean, 6 years ago, we were talking about how he's too small. You know what I mean? He's never going to be able to wrestle in college or so
80
on.
pounds wrestling at 103, something like that.
Yeah. He was, you know, he's a freshman, weighing 98 pounds, wrestling 106. You know, and because he wrestled 88 between his freshman and sophomore year of high school. You know what I mean? So I just think, you know, he's put a lot of work in. I'm hoping it paves the way for other kids to see what it takes to be able to reach that level. It doesn't matter where you're from, you know, economically where you're from, anything. It just matters about putting a lot of work and seeking out competition and also trying to get better every day. So doing the right things. He's definitely the forefront of the person to do all the right things and he leads by example. I think a lot of these kids look up to him because he does the good things even outside that wrestling room. So it's easy.
Sam is on the cusp of becoming the best male wrestler to ever come out of Alabama. I think Brandon's only got him by, you know, Brandon All-American once. So I think all Sam has to do is get that title. And, you know, I mean, potentially Sam could be a 5-time national champion.
Yeah, definitely.
Just got to take out Spencer Lee. And I can't wait.
that's right.
right.
You know, we had the whole
5 other
Dempsey
guys.
family. We had the whole Dempsey family watching and supporting and cheering him on. And I think we also had, Shad, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Zach Van Alst also ended up taking a first place in their tournament.
Yep.
Yep, in conference.
I got a list
I
of
mean-
kids who are going to the tournament. Let's see. We got Miguel and Carlos Figueroa are both going to be NAIA, along with Alex Miller and Gage Hudson down from the Gulf Shores. Van Alst for Coker University is going to Division II. We had a couple other kids place. Jackson Bast placed.
I think the Weaver kids on their brothers.
Sauter,
The Souders, yeah, they
Sauter.
made
Okay.
Sauter, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and Michael Land is going
Yep.
to NAIA.
Yep.
If there's anyone else that we're not aware of, just send us a note. We'd be glad to sing their praises and watch them in the championship. It's amazing how we've improved in the past 10 years. I mean, we wouldn't be able to give the numbers like this for college success. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, some of that comes to the point now for the first time, right? We've got wrestling from the Tennessee state line down to the Florida coast. I think almost a year or so ago, every high school, at least in Baldwin County, had a wrestling team. It's just incredible over the last 3 or 4 years, the strengthening, just across the board. There's still some pockets within the state that need help. I'd brag a little bit, I don't know that we brag on Shad enough. He's pretty humble on that whole thing, but there's a difference a lot of times between starting a club and then wanting to have, your club east and your club west and your club north versus, going over and helping Vicious start their club, going to Tuscaloosa, helping their start the club, go to Southside and revamp that program and let that happen, go to Calera and let, you could go right next door and let that's the type of thing that we've been seeing over the last 4 or 5 years.
Definitely.
And that's to me, now we're able to see those numbers each year. If you've got all these clubs graduating kids up into the middle school and the high school programs, it should just continue to grow. I'm excited.
Ken, that brings up a great point. I remember Louis Boackle and David Kim, Gardendale parents. David's son just placed third and graduated from Gardendale. Of course, they won their second in a row, right? They won one. But I remember those guys at at Warrior, standing out in the parking lot, talking about how low has Gardendale wrestling got. There's a proud tradition of wrestling at Gardendale High School, and they were motivated to bring that back. And they didn't know exactly how to do it, and not that we knew how to do it either, but I guess we had made enough mistakes that we'd finally figured out something right at Thompson. So they were picking my brain, and obviously the club had a lot to do with it. I remember telling Lewis and David, it was like, they wanted us to help with Vicious. They wanted to start a club, but I remember saying the key to it to me, and I think a big part of Thompson's success, we did it ourselves. We made it our own. Listen, not that we exclude anyone. I mean, we bring kids in from all over the place to train, and especially in the off season. But I think it was really important, and it's a lesson that youth and even high school coaches can learn here is, you can't. There's no shortcut to success. The ancillary benefit to creating a club, a local entity, involving the community, recruiting as many local kids as you can, and parents and coaches and volunteer coaches. It's hard to put a value on that. And clearly that's what happened up in Gardendale. And listen, those guys are as dominant as any high school program in the state of Alabama, and it's a direct result. Lots of hours, lots of hard work, lots of fundraising. Money's a necessary evil here. You got to do all that stuff, but ultimately you know, it was their willingness to take on that challenge as a community project and build it and grow it and look at the results. And, you know, there's no question in my mind. I don't know, Shad, you may know, you know, these kids coming out of the Gardner program or have collegiate opportunities now. And some of them are taking them. And so
And they're going more and more now. I mean, they have
really
a lot
cool to see. Mhm.
Yeah, they have a lot of kids. They probably Gardendale, between the Vicious Club there, they had 6, 7 state champs this year out of that Vicious
Yeah.
Club. And
They can start.
some of them are younger, so they're still in the freshmen, sophomore, juniors, especially
And
the Fitz brothers and the Wyatt brothers. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they haven't even had the opportunities yet because they haven't got to their senior year, but they're all gonna. I mean, if they
and listen, guys, they came out of the ashes. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I mean,
It's true.
they
Yeah.
were ashes. There was nothing there. What, 6 years ago? You know, you know, so yeah, I mean, Shad helped tremendously where we could.
came and built that thing.
Yeah.
We helped, but Cayman Holder, you know, came out of the Thompson program. You know, they hired Cayman. They brought in, you know, Bob Hicks was up there for a while.
Gardendale,
Rest his soul.
Jason Arrieta.
Yeah.
But you know, listen, it's amazing. And so anybody listening to this, hey, you can come out of the ashes. Thompson did it. I mean, we didn't even have a program, much less a program that was kind of on the, you know, down in the dumps. We didn't have anything. So, but building that community support and building a culture of wrestling is what is so important. And, you know, I think you go look all around the state, you know, I mean, I'm probably a little biased to Chris Pike. Chris, you know, coached, you know, my boys, or at least a couple of them, you know, came through the Thompson program. I think he's doing the same thing up in Trustful in just 1 year of sort of reinvigorating that program and breathing kind of a new life and maybe changing the culture a little bit. Not to take anything away from people that came before him at all, but look at the results, you know. So,
Well, speaking of Gardendale, you know, I know when they first started Vicious, they had a coach who unfortunately passed away. And what was his name again, Norm?
well, Bob was up there, you know,
Burn.
for a while, and then
Burn and
Bob Byrne. I'm sorry, I said Bob Hicks. Goodness gracious, Bob Byrne was up there, and Cayman was up there, and then they had Shad. What was the young man?
Jackson.
Jackson.
Jackson
Arnetta.
Arnetta.
No, not Jackson. They had another young man that tragically passed, and I feel terrible that
he was
I'm
between
slipping
them.
on his name, but
He was actually came and kind of took it from him.
Yeah.
over.
hey, so I know that was a big blow to them,
sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
but this is a segue into our next topic, which is our scholarship. So, you know, we started talking last summer about creating a high school scholarship called the Inspiration Scholarship, and is dedicated to the memory of wrestlers and coaches that were that left us too early. And if they touched anyone's life in the wrestling community, and that person wanted them to be remembered, they will be named on this plaque that we're going to hand out with the scholarship this year. So let me bring up the website here. You guys can see that, right?
Yeah.
On the AYWO website, you just click on this yellow box. If you're a high school senior, you don't have to go to wrestle in college. You have to go to college, but you have to have wrestled in high school. That's the requirement. So if you've wrestled in high school and you're looking for some help to pay for college, we want you to apply for this. We'll promote it at the Battle of Bama. Get people to come out. It's not too complicated to fill this out. If I can get it to go to the next screen, it's just a quick little form. You put in your name, you know, where you plan to go to college, and then in the brief statement about why you should be considered, tell us something inspirational about yourself, because we want to you know, use that as sort of the theme of the scholarship. And then you're going to need a recommendation from somebody, some sort of coach, someone who's related to you in the wrestling community. And all I have to do is upload a letter and recommend you. And the nice thing about it is, if you recall, we had a show about EJ Elliott a little while ago. He unfortunately passed away. He was delivering some rent money to a friend downtown, and he was robbed and killed. His father has agreed to select the winner of the scholarship and present the plaque to the winner. So I couldn't be more excited for that. If we can get him involved, and hopefully, EJ was the primary motivation through Dylan Turner's efforts to create the scholarship in his memory. And we didn't want to leave anybody out. So it's a pretty extensive list. And I encourage everybody to apply for this scholarship who can do it, because, if we can get some good response to it, hopefully next year we can add more money to it, or add more scholarships. And this is funded by both AYWO and USA Wrestling. It just happens to be on the AYWO website because I have access to it. But this is a joint effort, and we want to help these kids go to college and pursue their dreams. So.
And hey guys, how does if a business, or if someone wants to contribute somehow, some way to this fund, what's the best way to do that? Who do they need to talk to?
They can talk to me,
Right.
talk to Ken, or talk to Norm.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're going to the plaque is going to be created by the same company that does the Gladiator Series awards for our youth tournaments. So it's going to look pretty cool.
Cool.
When is that? When will that be awarded? Has that been decided yet, Scott?
I'm looking around April, right before graduation. I'd like to, since we're starting it a little late this year, I want to leave some time for kids to apply. I can tell you right now that since we just announced it, you're competing against no one at the moment. So get the applications in. We appreciate what USA and AYWO are doing, but of course
they need be a senior, correct? Did you say that was one of the
who has wrestled but doesn't and is going to college but doesn't need to wrestle in college.
It's great, Scott. That's a great thing. I know you put it on. I know it's something. It's your baby there that you kind of created. I know it's close to my heart. So I'm glad that you're still striving and doing it. And I just appreciate you so much for making it, such a priority. And it really is. I just talked this past week with a coach in the Wetumpka area whose son was tragically shot and killed. I think it was out on a fundraiser with Wounded Warrior, and the Wounded Warrior, I don't know if I've got it all right, but it ended up just tragically for this 8-9-year-old boy. It's just so all that we can do to help, if anybody's ever lost a son or a daughter, it's just an incredible loss. So anything like this that comes along to memorialize or draw people's attention to people that gave and disciplined their lives to the sport and remember them that way is just a fantastic thing. So of course, I love you. So, but I wanted to say hey and thanks for all that you do in that end of things.
Yeah, well, your son was probably the first person I thought of once we started expanding it to more than just EJ, and I'm glad we could do that for you and keep his name going.
Yeah.
And the award has not been produced yet, so if there's anyone who wants to include a name on this, just shoot me an email, and we'll make sure they get on there. So we want to make sure that nobody feels left out. It's
right. Good deal.
Well, guys, I really appreciate everything you've done for the sport and being here tonight. I know you got a busy schedule, and I know but I appreciate you taking the time to meet with us and help grow the sport as you always do. And Shane, it looks like we didn't get to the high school state review, but
that's pretty quick, Scott. we had Asheville, we had Vestavia, and we had Gardendale all take it to the house. So
Who was the 4A champ?
what I was really more
Asheville.
What's that?
He asked who's the 1 through 4A state champ, right?
Was it Asheville, I believe?
Asheville.
Yeah. What I was more impressed with is, of course, the day after, you know, Shad, you can attest to this, you and Matt, the room at the local clubs are just blowing up. I mean, and it wasn't just WWC. If any of us are, you know, not watching social media, I mean, every single club coach was posting 50, 60, sometimes like 70 kids in their rooms. So
Most of the kids were state champs that were showing up the next day.
that's right.
Yeah, it used to be my favorite. It still is maybe my to pop my head in. I didn't do it this year, but and see who's in that room. I'm talking the Sunday following the state tournament, and you know, I, bragging on Sam. You know, Sam probably, like Shad said in his social media post, he probably not the most physically gifted athlete. You know, the apple fell far from the tree on that one. He didn't get my athleticism. So he's had to make do without it. But those kids that, and not just Sam, but Coach Roby at Virginia Tech always likes to talk about desire, and desire is a big deal in sport wrestling. And I know Shad and Matt can certainly attest to that. And it gets you places. You can go a long way with desire. And I just always have felt like that day after state, you know, it just, you see who really wants it. You know, it's easy to say, I want this and I want that, but what are you willing to do to get it?
Oh, it's amazing. Sam looks like he's having so much fun.
He is. Yeah, he is. He is. He sent me a text. Was it after the first Camacho match or something? And he said, no, it was after they won ACC. They won the ACC regular season. It was a picture of him holding the trophy. And he said, and it just said, it was a picture. And then it said, Dad, I really am living my dream. And so, you know, that just melts your heart as a parent. You ever want for your kids, whatever it is, you know. So he's definitely.
It's all downhill from here.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, he actually messaged my son after, you know, Nick ended up placing in the 7A, you know, and man, it touched my heart that he did that.
Yeah.
My wife both were like, man, that's just, it's so cool, you know, that he gives back right now in his own ways. And
yeah, well, he's like, I'll tell you what, everyone should know what they want to do when they're 5 years old. I mean, that kid knew he wanted to be a wrestler, or however long. When did you meet him, Shad? He was what, 7 or 8?
I came in here in 6th grade year.
You know, he did. He just always known. So he loves wrestling, and he's gonna do it forever. And so we should all be so lucky to know what we want to do when we're 5th grade, you know, and he's never wavered.
When and where is March Madness?
March Madness is in St. Louis on the week after next, the 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Yep.
Thursday through Saturday. Yep.
I'm sure that's where you'll be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Shad's going to join us up there. The Big Tens and Big 12s, I think that's all that's left. Is that it?
Yep.
They're this weekend. So
yep.
They're saying seating and brackets ought to be out hopefully by Tuesday. What is that?
It's supposed to be on the 10th.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I know a guy that's running some brackets. So yeah, we need everything, you know, by the 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did a little fantasy ACC tournament deal. It was just with 5 or 6 guys. Most of the North guys, Warren Hoyt and Brian Hoyt and JP and those guys up north. And I just absolutely smoked them. I wanted to make that point here. I mean, those guys, it was like taking candy from a baby, man, my ACC boys. So I whooped them pretty good.
Nice.
But I assume that's what you're referring to, Shane, like bracketology for you doing some brackets and contests and stuff. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. NCAA's is a
Like
little
Shane,
more
if you
challenging.
want to get in.
Yeah.
Right.
And you
Yep,
still
just
get tickets
just
to
shoot
the-
me an email. I probably already emailed you, Norm, but
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to do it. Those NCAA brackets are a little more challenging than the ACCs.
yeah.
Man,
Oh, yeah.
those are big brackets. So, and they're saying they're gonna have fans there this year, and so
Don't
maybe
you usually have to buy the tickets a year in advance?
they're hard to come by most years, but you can get them. I haven't really looked around outside of my Virginia Tech sources this year. My understanding is that they were going to be selling between 2,000 and 3,000 tickets to the general public. So I don't know where they're selling these things. I have a funny feeling that Iowa and Penn State will end up with about 23 out of the 2,500, if I had to guess. But it's normally the case. But
Well, I'm hoping we can do a watch party at Siluria.
yeah,
Everyone's invited.
I haven't seen. Has anybody seen the broadcast schedule for that? I know the last several years they keep expanding coverage of the tournament, live coverage. So I know last year, if I'm not mistaken, the last couple of years they had the semis and the finals were all live. Every match was live on ESPN.
So they're expanding coverage for this weekend as well. So
Uh-huh.
if they're doing that for the Big Ten,
The actual live coverage, Shane.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this may not be the year to encourage everybody to go, but I'll tell you what, it's I've been to Final Fours and lots of football national championships and all kinds of cool sporting events and World Series games, and nothing touches it. Nothing even comes close to it, to be honest.
Well, I know Shane has watched every match of every wrestler in Alabama's AHSAA tournament. Every single one. So I have no doubt he'll be right on top of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it's good stuff for sure. Yeah.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining Matburn tonight. I really enjoy it. We're going to see everyone at the Boutwell Auditorium on the 14th, is it 13th?
13th. Yep.
13th.
This
And for
Saturday.
the
Yep.
Battle of Bama. And,
I think probably at that point in time, you should be able to do a side-by-side between that picture of Sam behind you and what Norm's high school picture looked like. I'd like to see that side-by-side running at the Battle of Bama.
I know a guy, Steve Burrow, I think, has a picture of Norm.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen.
I won't mention the one time Steve and I faced off. I'll let him tell the story of that match. Yeah.
That's great. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. Let me
Thanks, man.
take us out with the little intro thing. This is Matt Byrne. Have a good night.